Hi, I am Professor Dr. Mahul Brahma. I am Professor and Dean at School of Media and Communication at Adamas University, Fellow, Bath University, UK. So this is a lecture series in which today I will talk about how to consume content critically. And as an extension, I'll also touch upon how to write a critique, a review, an appreciation of films and books. Overall, giving an idea of what it is all about. So, we must understand that on a day-to-day basis, with the digitization in this digital universe, in the dynamism of the digital universe, we are continuously being bombarded with information and content. It's not that everything is relevant, but relevant, irrelevant, we still are consuming a lot of content. Now, it is very important to consume content very critically, especially if we want to have an edge in communication, especially for students of communication, especially for CXOs. It is very important to consume content very critically. How? Now today, we know that, and I am a proponent of media literacy, how critical media literacy have become. How critical it has become to fight fake news. How critical it has become to stop people from forwarding the WhatsApps and the stories that are fabricated. Now the moment you look at say a content, say some news item is shared on Facebook with a headline, so 2-3 things need to be done, and if you think that it is important enough for you to maybe forward or share or comment on, many a times the headline and the content of the story doesn't match. There is an agenda there, and you fall prey to it. In spite of your education, in spite of your literacy, you fall prey to it. Because we need to quickly forward that or share that or comment on that and move on. This is where media literacy and the critical consumption of content becomes very important. So the moment you see that the headline and the content and the comment that is made by the person whose post you are viewing are not in sync, you will know that you have done one good deed for the day by stopping this spread, by pointing it out. Media literacy has become critical because media has become such a potent tool. Everybody with a smartphone has the capacity to move thoughts, move minds, create a revolution. And that is how powerful it is. So content needs to be consumed very critically. So whatever you see, that has to be consumed critically. When you read the newspaper, the first thing you'll see that whether the headline is in sync with what story the news is talking about, the narrative that the news is talking about. And then you will see that in that narrative, is it a biased narrative? Are both the sides' views presented, or it is an editorialized narrative? So as a serious consumer of content, that is the bare minimum that you should do. And when you see that the news is balanced, the headline is balanced, it's fine, you should consume that news. Also, you need to check the source. in this day and age today, photographs are forged and leaked in social media as, as very secret images. There are free apps that are available where you can trace the source. So before you take the story forward, before you take the narrative forward, please check and do it responsibly. In television, there may be a tendency of editorializing, of commentary, but still see whether both the sides, both the perspectives are presented, whether the source of the information is shared, whether the source of the information is credible, whether the data is from a source that is authorized by a competent authority. So, consuming content critically becomes very, very important for you, for me, for everybody. Again, as I said, if you are in a decision-making position at a CXO level, or if you are a student, it is very critical. Now, I will touch upon reviewing books and films. Again, as I said, critical consumption of content. So, when two aspects. When you read a book, there has to be a process in the mind to critically analyze that book. That whether the objective of the book, the title of the book is doing justice to the content of the book, whether the narrative is fine, whether the story is engaging, whether the language is lucid, So, there are certain elements, there are certain parameters when you judge a book. And you don't judge a book by its cover, but the cover plays a very important role. Whether the cover is doing justice to the narrative. So, the cover of the book, the title of the book, the flow of the contents, whether there are illustrations to help understand certain things better, whether it is a fiction or a non-fiction. If it is a non-fiction, is the non-fiction based on credible source, or is it purely opinionated? If it is fiction, if the narrative is engaging, gripping, if it is plagiarized, if you've heard the story before. So, when you look at a book review, that is very important. So, first the classification, then the genre, then the cover, the content, the style of writing, the flow of narrative, whether there is engagement, whether it is plagiarized, whether a story sounds somewhat heard before. If there is some elements which are taken, whether proper referencing has been done, that speaks volumes of the authenticity of the author, the genuineness of the author. So, in my latest book, The Mythic Value of Luxury, every point of time wherein, so it is a non-fiction, it talks about the embodying of contradictions of luxury brands and how it survives the test of time. So, wherever there is a reference needed, a reference has been given, be it an article or a research paper or what have you. Referencing is very important. That speaks of the seriousness of the author, that the author is not taking you for a ride, that the author is plagiarizing and you will not know, assuming that the reader will not know. It's a wrong practice. And as a conscious reader, as a critical consumer of content, you would know what is wrong. So, for a review, it's very important to look at it that way. And please understand, even for critical appreciation, I mean, criticizing is not wrong. it should not be taken negatively. A critical appreciation or a critical look at a film or a book is very important. And you for a film, for a review or for a critical appreciation, you look at the technical aspects of it. In the critical appreciation, more of technicality is looked into than in a review. One of my professors at IIM Calcutta used to tell me that, so he was a professor of conflict resolution, and he used to tell me that conflict is not bad, conflict is good, because conflict opens new avenues. Similarly, criticism, and in the right spirit, it also opens new avenues. Some perspectives which the author or the filmmaker might have missed. And it will be a great help for him to better his work, to better his craft in the next project. So, coming to films, similarly in films, when you consume a film, again, look at the genre. If it is a documentary, it's a documentary. If it's a film, in the film, which is the genre? In a feature film, what is the genre? If it's a short film, it's a micro short film. Identify the genre. So, the moment you identify the genre, you have some thought process in terms of what you are expecting. I am not saying that have a very fixed mind in terms of it has to form, be aligned to your expectations. I am not saying that. But there are certain boxes that you need to tick when something is made into in a certain genre. So, if it is a documentary, there has to be some practical evidence, some realistic evidence, some references need to be done, which is not required in a feature film or in a short film which is based on a story. If the film is based on a story, then proper credit needs to be given to the author, to the story writer. And then the technical aspects of it, the camera, the editing, the script, the narrative, Chekhov's gun is used or not. So whether every element that is shown in the film has a relevance or not. So if I see in a frame there is a gun hanging on the wall, whether that gun is used later. If it is not used, why is that shown? So all that needs to be taken care of. In a critical appreciation, the critical aspects of the film are evaluated more, looked into more in more technical details. In review, a lot of other aspects are covered, which are not so technical, though some aspects are touched. So, my only request to students and CXOs is that whenever you consume content, consume it critically. So, now if you are not writing a review and you are reading a review of a book or a film, and you would want to take a call based on that review, see if the review is biased or not. So, see if the reviewer has been able to look at every aspect of the filmmaking or look at every aspect of writing the book and has done justice to it. And if the person is saying it's a good film, why it is a good film? If it is a film that you should not watch, why it is? Say the acting is bad, or the camera work is bad, or the dialogue is bad, or the editing is bad. It's too long, or it's too short. It doesn't end a story, or it leaves you in a limbo. Whatever it is, and that has to be unbiased. So critical content consumption is always about being unbiased and being true to the content. So I hope that henceforth, dear students and CXOs, you would consume content very critically, no matter from which source in this era of platform agnosticity and media convergence. Thank you.